This sensitization and show of force by the Nigeria Forest Security Service aims to galvanize support from communities to take back ungoverned spaces, particularly within the forested region. During the operational tour, commanders of the service are also assessing the deployment and performance of the personnel. This is to help re-strategize in areas that needs reinforcement for effective policing. As a sign of endorsement and commendation, the Bauchi state government has approved the recruitment of 2,000 additional operatives for the Nigeria Forest Security Service. The government has also provided operational vehicles, motorcycles, and allowances to enhance field activities.
So we believe we would continue to engage, we would continue to expand the scope of these operations. As a state, we would continue to provide every, support that is required for, the Nigeria Forest Security Service to succeed.
To improve efficiency, the service hierarchy is appealing to the public to regularly volunteer information and avoid stereotype of persons.
Bauchi remain best peaceful state in the entire 19 other states and one of the peaceful states in the entire Nigeria. So it's evidence everywhere. So with the addition of the 2,000 men into Nigeria Forest Security Service, it will further deepen the level of collaboration between our organization and the constitutional authority in area of fighting crimes and criminality.
The operational tour sees the Nigeria Forest Security Service hierarchy visit command structures in Bauchi, Jos, and Kaduna states. The service is also calling on all state governors to embrace their structures to be able to address the prevailing security challenges, particularly in Nigeria's forests. Ferdinand Duroha, Arise News.
Now, joining me is, to discuss President Bola Tinubu's visit to Benue State and steps towards addressing the security challenges plaguing the region is Dr. Charles Omole, is the Director General of the Institute for Police and Security Policy Research. And Honorable Aliyu Gebi is a security expert who is also a former member of the House of Representatives. Glad to have both of you on Newsnight tonight. Let me start with you, Dr. Omole. The president had a word or two to, for everyone, both the governor of Benue State, Governor Aliyu. He spoke to the service chiefs, also spoke to the governors. Now, when the president says, look, there's a need for a committee to be set up, that will look for a sustainable way forward, to achieve peace in Benue State. And then you have the Tortiv who says, look, this is really not about farmer herders issues or communal clashes. It's about genocide. How do you begin to unpack this in a way that you can correctly, diagnose what is going on in Benue State in order to be able to, find lasting solutions?
Well, I think the president means well in terms of the so-called committee for Benue State, but I don't think that is a solution for going forward.
Right.
There are 4 causal factors, in my opinion, for insecurity we have across the country. One, of course, is the politicians themselves, both those who win and those who lose. I can talk more about that later. The second is the retired military personnel. I know Adabu Social mentioned a few weeks ago. It is true, not across every state, but in some states, that is the dominant factor. And clearly, the retired ones have influence on the current serving ones because they were their seniors. So the third is, of course, the ethnic, local religious tensions, which sometimes can masquerade as herders, so to speak. But some of these motive or grievances have gone back decades. It's just that now there's more sort of a means of carrying out those intentions, with the former IGP saying we have over 80 plus armed non-state groups in Nigeria. So there are many guns for hire everywhere now. So anyone that has any grievance, and with the right amount of money, You have people doing, and then the fourth one, of course, is the sheer criminality. You know, we can't rule that out. The challenge with the proposition of the president in terms of the Benue is, number one, if it's ethnically related, the ethnic groups span more than Benue State. Right. So if you are making a Benue focus, committee, how do you solve that? And number two is that some of the people you are putting in this committee, I don't know, may actually be part of the problem in the state. So what I think is best is to look for what I call a national truth and reconciliation committee or what commission or whatever it is you want to call it. It has to be national in nature, because I remember doing an interview after what happened in Jos a few weeks back, and now is Benue today. Who knows where it will be tomorrow? Next. So you can't keep setting up committees in every state, because there is a similar pattern here. It should be seen as a national problem. Therefore, there should be a national, truth and reconciliation committee set up that would be focused more on non-kinetics, which is all the talking to the people, reconciliation, finding cause factors, but more importantly, also naming those behind it, because that's the problem we've had in the country so far. We hear rumors here and there, but no names are ever mentioned.
Let me bring you in here. Taking it from the point you just made now, that no names have been mentioned. You had the president there say he's surprised that no arrests have been made, whether in the case of Benue State or other, security, or terrorists in other parts of the country. Why is it that we have not really been able to apprehend, criminals?
First and foremost, condolences to the entirety of the nation on this savagery. They are not thieves that were killed. They were not Fulanis. They were Nigerians. Every soul that dies, no matter how we look at it, is a Nigerian soul that is lost. The president must be commended for taking this bold step. Perhaps if such steps had been taken much, much earlier, the things would not have degenerated to the point that they have. This is a generational issue. And at the crux of the problem is the quintessential question of indigenous settler. This has to be addressed. No matter how we win to address this, this has to be addressed. And it can only be addressed through a constitutional reformatory process. Every time the 7th Assembly, we did it. When it went down to the states for concurrence, 25%, it was killed. So we have to find a way of defining what the Nigerian identity is. And this, I think, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is best placed, best suited to carve out that identity so that everyone feels a sense of belonging. And number two, the utter disregard for consequences. We have no consequences in Nigeria. You do things, you get away with it. We don't incentivize good behavior and we don't punish bad behavior. So we know who do these things. The security and defense actors know who they are. The communities know who they are and they harbor them. And so we have this cyclical tendency of things going back and forth until the end of time. So unless someone, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, puts his foot down, it will happen and it will happen again. Then I tend to agree with my colleague here when he said the people you're putting in the committee might be the perpetrators. In every part of this country,
elders, former governors of the state, and
if you're bringing former governors of the state, at the crux of the problem is misgovernance and selective governance and lack of governance and abdication of governmental responsibilities. Federal government does not have indigents. States have indigents. Federal government has citizens. The problem is not at the center, the problem is at the states. The states create the problems and then look to the center that is already overstretched, tackling its own problems, the sovereignty of the nation, the welfare of the citizens, the protection of the citizens, and then governance at the state level. So the problem is a governance issue, and unless governors will sit up to their responsibility, this problem will continue happening. Then thirdly, there are politicians who need violence to remain in office. There are politicians who need violence to come into office. 2027 has started already. You can see with all the cross-carpeting, etc.
So when the president says, look, there are enemies, addressing Governor Aliyu here, there are enemies who don't want you to succeed. That's a political dimension to all of this. Does it further complicate, finding a solution, a lasting solution to this challenge, Dr. Omole?
Well, speaking about Benue specifically, for example,
yes.
The current governor, part of his major promise before he got elected was he will sort out security problem. So clearly it's in the interest of his enemy, so to speak, or opposition, to make the state insecure as a way of saying, he didn't do well. The thing is, and even within the APC in Benue State, there is division. between the governor group and the SGF group. And the way things are going now is that, for example, if you look at all federal appointments that are located to Benue State, they are all from the SGF camp. If you look at all state appointments, they are all from the governor's camp. So it's a house divided against itself in that sense. So rather than just set up this group and unwittingly you put the people who are actually causing a problem in the so-called committee, it's better for the president to do a national committee, because this is happening in several states.
Several.
Exactly.
Including Enugu too.
Exactly. So it should be a national Truth and Reconciliation Committee. Put credible people there, and they'll be able to look at what actually are the causes, because you will see that factors are similar across states. So it's easier to provide a national solution. Right. Because if you don't do that, all you have in security we call displacement, which means, for example, Sokoto State governor was saying he want to, negotiate with terrorists.
Is that even, should that even be on the table?
But point is, let's assume it worked. Or if I was a terrorist, I would just go to the next state. So, before you know it, I'm cashing out in every single state of the federation. You are just displacing it from one state to another. You are not solving the problem. So that actually is not the solution. At least it's not the solution in isolation.
Right.
But when you're looking at the comprehensive solution, then you might say, okay, maybe there's an element of some recompense in certain cases. But that has to be part of a sort of a bigger and comprehensive solution, not just isolated actions.
Aside from the call for a possible national conference, Truth and Reconciliation Conference, to look at the fundamental issues that are plaguing every part of the country where you have this insecurity, we've heard Governor Aliyu and so many others, talk. You have had occasion here, to recommend community policing, state policing, and all of that. To what extent, Gebi, do you think this really would solve this problem, whether it's in Benue, Plateau, Enugu, wherever? Is there one solution that can actually...
We can sit down here and play to the gallery,
right,
and waste our time, and pack our bags and go back to our comfortable homes, and the problem will still be there. Our problem is we don't have any strategic solution in terms of addressing problems. So what we have are a series of tactical operations, tactical
But can we
solutions.
have that solution if we don't know what exactly is at the root of the problem?
But I said it in the beginning, misgovernance. Misgovernance.
Right.
The greatest antidote to insecurity is good governance. In counterinsurgency, good governance. Ethnic issues, good governance. But when you have a country where almost every major ethnic group has an armed militia, there are more arms in the hands of citizens than there are in the Defense and Security Exchange. Then number two, you have a governor coming talking about non-kinetic. So this is a new buzzword. Everybody is talking about non-kinetic. What does non-kinetic mean? And you can't have, with due respect, Doctor, truth and reconciliation without justice. You can't have a repentant terrorist without justice. You can't have a reformed terrorist without justice, just like you can't have a reformed ethnic militiaman without justice. The bottom line is justice, the quest for social justice.
And can you get justice without punishing the criminals?
There you go. So before you get to the truth and reconciliation component, there has to be justice. Everyone talks about Rwanda. People went to jail before they came out, and then the truth and the reconciliation. You cannot harm me, harm my children, take away my voice and say you are sorry and I accept it. And the military are overstretched. So rather than to form a committee of elders, the elders are the ones who failed. The governors are the ones who failed. I would love to see President Bola Ahmed Tinubu charge the youth. The future belongs to the youth. You are having a composition that takes out the entire youth, accepting the elders to decide on the youth. This is not going to happen. Right. The elders cannot plan for a future that they are definitely not going to be a part of. And they messed up the past so that the youth grew up in that chaos, and then now you want them to solve the problem that they are direct stakeholders in. You don't do that. Who chased out Boko Haram in Maiduguri? It's a civilian JTF. It's the youth. The future belongs to the youth. Then creating new paramilitary outfits does not solve the problem. Rather, I would love to see President Bola Ahmed Tinubu proscribe all armed militia in Nigeria. Give them 3 months, proscribe, disarm, be registered either as agro rangers or whatever, so that the state can oversight. But as it is, every problem is the military. If you see the face of the CDS, the man has been bouncing from pillar to post trying to put out fires that the military did not put out.
So many fires to put out. Dr. Omole, the president president said to the intelligence bodies, look, you need to retool your information channels and ensure that this does not happen again. How much of a strong marching order is this?
No, I mean, to be quite frank with you, I don't think that's any marching order. Because what I think needs to happen is the fact that the president touched on a key weakness in our security, estate, and that is not necessarily lack of intel, lack of information sharing.
Information, okay.
Currently there is no legal compulsion on any security agency in Nigeria to share information with another. So I've been in the past, I've been in meetings with DSS and said we are not telling the police that we don't trust them, and there's no consequence for that not happening. So the president, for example, could sign an executive order making it punishable, because he's dealing with official of staff of his government, to say if you don't share, it becomes an offense not to share, to refuse to share intelligence. Now I know the National Security Advisor, people will say, yeah, his office is supposed to be coordinator of national intelligence. But the point is it not an intelligence you bring to that meeting that will be shared? What if you don't? So it's important, therefore, that there's need for better coordination, and which led to what he said earlier about more paramilitary groups. We don't need more.
Right.
We need to strengthen, especially the police. We need to strengthen them, better fund them, for them to be able to do, what we are tasking them to do.
Well, the police has not necessarily been at the forefront of the war against insecurity. It's been the military, and many experts like yourself have continued to say, look, the police needs to be front and center of it. Well, good governance is at the core of this. Strengthen the police, and a national conference that can come up with a template to address the security challenges in Nigeria. Thank you, both of you gentlemen, for joining us. Dr. Charles Omole is the DG, Institute for Police and Security Policy Research. We need to bring you back, both of you, so that you can address this even further. And Aliyu Gebi, security expert. Thank you very much for your insights.